All right. Um, Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, let me introduce myself. My name is Murali Mohan. Uh, I work for R&T BCI, which is Renault and Nissan, a car manufacturing company, which is based out of Chennai. So I have had around nearly three decades of experience now. Yeah. So uh, I was a developer for 18 long years. I worked on C++, Visual C++, C Sharp, ASP.NET, Microsoft technologies mostly. So, yeah, this topic, test-driven development, is close to my heart in the sense that I wish I, sh- I wished I should have learned it probably in the early stages of my career. It would have probably helped me enjoy coding more than I did. Okay. So uh, this is a very good tool a technique, development technique that you could use in your day-to-day practices. And before I move on to the topic of test-driven development, I would like to understand from you all, how many of you were programmers or are programmers? Okay, currently are programmers. How many of you are programmers? Okay, fantastic. I do see some. Bala, okay, Rupsa. Yeah, uh, very good. And how many of you were developers at some point in time? Even if it is testing related, automated testing, scripts or okay, Java program, Selenium programming, it's fine. How many of you were developers? Okay, and is right. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, very good. Okay, so yeah, very nice. Thank you very much for your response. So you all are at some point of time or the other, you were developers. So how much time typically do you think um, people spend people spend uh, developing code, writing code versus reading code? If you want to come on video, you're more than welcome. Please do. You're encouraged to come on video. That way we can have better interactions, individuals and interactions. So how much time do you have some idea on how much percentage of time goes into writing code and then versus reading code?
I think if it's working, you don't read it.
Sorry,
If it's working, you don't read it.
if it is working, you're reading it.
You don't touch it.
Okay. You're scared of touching, is that what you meant?
Yes.
Okay, right. Yeah, I understand. So, you know what? 80 to 90% of the time we spend time reading somebody's code, our own code. Okay, sometimes 90% of the time. All right. Uh, so with that, let me share my screen. Let me start sharing my screen. Oops. Okay. Uh, All right. So please acknowledge if you are able to see my screen. All right. Thank you very much. Test-driven development is the topic, okay, of interest for us today. So what are the challenges of software development? As you said, 90% of the time we read a lot of code written by others or ourselves. Sometimes we are unlucky. 5% of the effort goes into analysis, 5% into design, another 5% into development, 10% into testing, and integration another 10%. And after that, you not developers move on. It's kind of you develop as a project, unfortunately. And then some people might be lucky enough to stay for a long time. Those early people who have developed that, right? And some people may move on to another project if you are in a service-based company. Otherwise, if you're in a product-based company, you might be lucky enough to have maintained the product and ensure that the customers are satisfied. a whopping 65% of the time and money is spent in maintenance, maintenance of our products. So that's a lot, right? We just develop as a kind of a work as a project and try to complete, and then after that it gets into maintenance phase, and so that's where you typically end up spending a lot of time reading code, some code written by somebody else, and after a long time at that. Okay? And recently I met a person who happened to read my code, written in 2001, 2001. Okay? And he was telling me about that. So this leads to, and multiple people come, GEDs come, senior experienced people come, and then the code becomes complex. It's very difficult to debug, right? It's very difficult to debug, and over a period of time, it becomes very complex. And we all, if you have coded, we all are guilty of copying and pasting, right? At least I'm guilty. I admit I've copied and pasted code multiple times, right? That leads to highly coupled systems. At over a period of time, what happens? Your code becomes rigid. These are some of the problems you are trying to understand, right? So rigidity, meaning if you touch one portion, if you touch one portion of your application, it has a cascading effect on multiple places. So for example, I once was trying to fix one web page which was having print functionality. We had to make a similar change in 7 other web pages for that particular bug fix. So it has a domino effect, right? If you touch one place, tuck, 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 okay, everything crashes. That is how it becomes, right? So legacy code. That is how we say, yeah, we are in legacy code. Let me just try to put it in do not disturb mode. I'm sorry, I'm using my office laptop, and then okay, just a minute. Okay. Not disturb. I'm sorry about that. Okay. Legacy code. What do you think is legacy code? Anyone? How do we define legacy code? When do you say you have a legacy code?
Code which is written more than 40-50 years old, like
Okay. Maybe.
like COBOL mainframe codes.
Okay. You think so?
Code no longer relevant.
Code no longer relevant. Okay. If it is not relevant, we don't use it. No. Okay. But then, yeah, thanks for your answers. But Michael Feathers says legacy code is code without tests. You are able to manage your tests, okay, then your code is kind of robust. You know what is happening all the time. So that gives you a lot of feedback, and it is the code speaks about the requirements that were there. So he says code without tests is legacy code. Meaning the emphasis is on having more tests. And there is also a study which was run, which says that the number of hours that you spend working on code increases exponentially if it is without tests. Because without tests, it increases exponentially, whereas with tests, it increases somewhat linearly. In fact, I'm not even seeing this linearity. Linearity means it grows this way, but okay, less than linear. So you don't spend too much of time working till 12 a.m. in the night or 2 a.m. as I did in those days back in the day, right? So let's talk about the feedback loop that we have. You typically even though we are doing Agile, we all say we all are doing Agile. A feature request comes, and a product owner typically orders the product backlog. and we decide on the feasibility, analyze it, come up with design, implement, test, and then deploy, right? Finally, the customer, it goes to the customer, and that is when you probably, the product owner gets the feedback, but it is not working as intended. I'm not sure if it has happened to you. I have seen this in waterfall model. It has happened multiple times. But then if you are lucky enough, you might get feedback after implementation during the testing part. Sometimes you also get feedback while testing on the design aspects as well. Design itself was not good, so that kind of feedback loop you might get. But then overall, the testing loops are a bit long. So, continual delivery of software, right? We all work in an iterative and incremental fashion using any of the frameworks like Scrum, for example, and we uh, deliver software today, as in line with the Agile principle, which says our highest priority is to satisfy the customer through early and continual delivery of valuable product. So why do we want to continually deliver valuable product to our customers? What is the intent behind that? Anyway, it's okay.
To get faster feedback.
To get faster.
To give feedback with
Sorry?
format.
Sorry? Somebody said something. Yes, we want to give something, put it into the hands of our customers as early as possible, right? That's why we have CI/CD pipeline, so on and so forth. And then seek their feedback. Is it good? It's not good. You don't like it? Okay, what do you need me to change? So they ask us to change, responding to change or following a plan. Okay. Sorry. Changing requirements even late in development process, right? That is the we all are agile and we want to be more competitive, and this is where we are ending up. Agility, we want to deliver something today, iteratively and incrementally, seek the feedback of the customer, and adapt tomorrow. We need to be able to adapt tomorrow. Our code should be robust enough to be able to adapt tomorrow. Our code should be maintainable, scalable, robust enough that even after 20 years, somebody comes in and says, oh, I have looked at your code. It is very neatly designed. Oh, okay, that's a good compliment, right? So, but then, irrespective of that, your code should be able to adapt for changing requirements of the customers, ever changing requirements of the customers, ever changing consumer behavior, right? So, and start generating more value. That is where there should be better code, right? Better code and better feedback. We want better feedback loops. Okay. I'll talk about this. Now, we generally write a feature. Then after that, we generally tend to write a feature. We split a feature into story, right? Multiple stories. Then we start developing some code, write some code. Then we go ahead and then test that code. We write unit tests. We write unit tests for that, and then we try to or some people maintain them in an Excel sheet and then start testing whatever has been written. Some people go ahead and then write the test code. After that, after you're basically here, what I'm trying to say here is you are testing the code that you have written. Okay. Then you perform unit tests and all that. Then you test your story for its functionality. You test your feature for its functionality. But then you see there's something wrong. These are current ways. Even if we are doing agile, right? It's kind of following a V model. It's kind of what after you write your code, you write a feature, then write your test, so story, write your code, write code to ensure that write a test code to ensure that what you wrote is correct. There's some problem here. Okay, this is kind of V model way of working. So the way we are doing currently, even if we are doing agile ways of working, right? Uh, we are writing a lot of code, day in and day out. We go and start writing a lot of code, and if somebody insists that we should have a lot of code coverage, then people will start writing tests. Right? Let us be honest about it. There was a time in 2005 when we were reluctant. We were given that N unit, and even then we were reluctant to write tests. Why is it that our MD, our director of engineering, insists on using N unit and write tests? We are not writing, and some people were very sincere and they were writing, but then they wrote a code for a long time, as in 3 months or 6 months, and after the fact, they started writing a lot of test code. So here they have written a lot of code, and here also they have written a lot of code. The more code you write, right, the more what do you say? It is a liability. Keep this in mind, even as we are going ahead, right? It is a liability, because most of the time you spend uh, reading your code. You have to read not only this, you also have to read this and understand. So you have to maintain this, as well. And after some time, if this is not written correctly and this is not matching with this, then you will throw this test code also. This happens practically, right? So I'm not complaining against anybody. People like me also have done, right? So, but then we'll see how we are going to change, right? Where we need to make a mental shift, then start shift testing left. You know what? I just want to share a story. When Kishiro Toyoda is the person who has established this farm, who was the founder of Toyota car manufacturing. So he and his son, after the World War, sometime around 1948 and 1950, they went to United States. And they were looking at the way Americans were developed. They went to Ford, and then they saw that they had really huge inventory. And they felt, hey, they have a lot of space. There's huge inventory. Ours is a poor country in the sense that they all were just then World War II was over, and space was a constraint for them. We cannot afford this much space, right? And even as they were explaining, these things were running in their mind. They said, in Japan, it is not going to work for us. We have very limited space. That is where they brought in work in progress and all that stuff. Low inventory. Then they went to the very end. Right before it is deployed to the customer, they had a testing step. That is, the Americans had it, a testing step. They asked, what is this testing step at the very end? They said, any bugs that were found previously, or which we did not surface, we will fix at the very end. We'll also provide a manual to the customer so that they can also fix on their own. I mean, they kind of thought, what is this? You're asking your customers to fix their bugs? Come on. No. We want to eliminate that step. We don't want testing to be at the very end. Instead, we want to shift it to the left. Understand? Follow what I'm saying? They wanted to shift the testing from the very end towards the left. So how do they do that, right? How do we do that in software? How do we apply that with software? We write a feature, we write a story, we write code. This is what I said, right? But then when you write your test, you don't delay it till the feature is implemented, the entire feature is implemented, or the entire story is implemented. Instead, you shift towards the left. Shift towards the left. Okay. Immediately after writing a feature, you're writing a test feature. Immediately after writing a story, you're writing a test for that story to validate the story is correct. But whereas when it comes to test code, without writing, before you write code, you start this test code. Now, some of you might be asking, hey, what is this Murali is saying? You write code, you don't write code, and before that itself you have to test. So how does that happen, right? Are you with me so far? I'm the only person talking here, right? All right, some feedback will help. Thank you. So this is very important step. So test code is there. This test code, you're not writing after writing the code. No, you're not writing a lot of code for 3 or 6 months and then writing unit tests. No, instead, you want to write a test code and ensure that we write minimal code to make this test code pass. How? We will see. That is what test-driven development comes into. So this is where TDD comes into picture, and here BDD and BDD here as well, right? So what happens in test-driven development? Test-first approach, right? We call it as test-first approach. Both BDD and TDD are test-first approaches. What we do is we don't write production code. You see this production code, there is nothing there, but we write our test code. So what do you think will happen if you write test code and there is no production code?
It will fail.
It will fail, right? It will fail.
Everything will fail, yeah.
Nothing. So good, you are following so far. Okay. Now, what we need to do, we write the test code, then write minimal code. Don't write extraneous code. I told you, any code is a liability. Extra code is a liability. So we need to ensure that we write minimal code possible to pass this. What is the minimal code that is required to pass this? Okay. In fact, this particular example has something extra. We were only setting for first name, but last name is also there. That is also extra. No, we don't want that also. Okay. Ensure that this test passes. I mean, I don't go look too much into this. I'll demonstrate for your benefit. Shift testing left. So what we say is we typically write define, build, test, and then deploy. This is our life cycle, right? We define a user story, then build it, code that, and then write and test. Somebody would test, right? And then it deploy it to the production. This is our cycle. Where we are going is we want to define with a test, build with a test, and test. So what is the advantage of this? It's that you have unit tests at the bottom. You have unit tests at the bottom, integration tests in the middle, and UI tests at the top. And on top of that, exploratory tests will be there. So what is the significance of this unit tests here? What is it that I'm trying to tell? The point that I'm trying to drive here is unit test here is this one, this green area is more. That means you need to have more unit tests. Okay? As you go up, the tests are going to be fewer. Right? So why? I'll tell you. So, but what happens is that in our industry, most of the time, there is very less emphasis on unit tests. Unit tests. People are either people are ignorant, they are lazy, whatever you may call it. Right? So people are not focusing on the unit tests. Instead, they focus on, so they invest heavily on Selenium and all those tests, and then they try to have unit integration tests. And a lot of effort, in fact, goes for manual exploratory tests, right? Instead, we need to have here unit tests, more of unit tests, integration. So why is this important? I'll tell you in the next slide. Okay, this is wrong. This is the right way. If you are having something like this, you're spending a lot of money here. Try to invert that and then come to here. Okay, have more unit tests. Why? Why is it that Murali is saying, well, you should have more unit tests? Why is it that it is recommended, right? Because unit tests are cheap. They are cheaper. All right. So if you go up, even as you go up, they are UA tests, exploratory tests, they're going to cost you in dollars. But here, it's cheaper. Another advantage is that here, these are solid here, unit tests. They don't break. UI tests, it's very easy to break. Why? Let's say you have, think about an Amazon shopping cart. You have picked up an item, you search for an item on Amazon, and then added it to cart. After that, it goes to payment gateway. You add shipping, shipping address, so on and so forth, and then finally you try to check out, right? If in this line, if any of those end-to-end tests amongst any of the APIs are not working, or any of the buttons are not working, it will fail. Whereas a unit test is talking about a very small behavior. Okay, very small behavior. So that's why they are more solid. And these are more faster. They execute very faster. They give feedback consistently. They keep giving feedback to the developers. Right. Could somebody read this, please? May I request you to read this, because there's a lot of English here. I don't want to read that myself. Somebody volunteer.
We live in
I'll
a
go
world
ahead.
of
Yeah, Amrita, go ahead.
we
We live in a world of changing requirements, and our job is to make sure that our software can survive those changes. If the design of our software degrades because the requirements have changed, we are not being agile.
We are not being agile if the design of our software degrades because the requirements have changed, right? That's what we talked about. Deliver today, adapt tomorrow. This is Uncle Bob, by the way. Okay. He has written wonderful books on clean code, so on and so forth. One day, probably I'll come and then start talking about clean code as well. So why invest in test first approach? Yes, Santosh, you have a question? All right. So why invest in test first approach, right? If a problem is found here, while coding, then the cost would be lesser. The problem is found probably in testing. Somebody is testing, manual testing also. Then the cost could be somewhat more than what it would have been here. But whereas if you find a defect here, that's growing exponentially, and the cost is going to shoot up. The cost is going to shoot up, right? So this is from a study by Ken Pugh. So let me quickly, for the sake of completeness, I'd like to give what are the benefits. So you can validate your requirements with the test-driven development and test-first approaches. I'm also including BDD as well. Okay, BDD is also a test-first approach. It catches regression issues. You'll not have too many regression issues. While I was a programmer, some bug or the other used to creep in frequently. I think that some code I have fixed yesterday, and today again the similar bug comes because probably I was thinking something, and I did not have tests to validate what I have written, right? So, but whereas test first approaches, will quickly spot any such kind of mistakes, and then lowers maintenance costs. And that's what we are talking about, because code is a liability, and you should not have too much code written. Okay? Simple code is what we require. Developer benefits. Okay? Developers would start designing with testing in mind. They want to test. They want to be able to test a class when they write a class. They don't know. Typically, what we do, we create a God class. The moment somebody asks us to develop something, we go to the internet, right? Google, get something. Now these days we have ChatGPT, TAC. Everything is right in front of you. So you end up creating God classes and methods. You have such a big class. Instead, if you start with testing in mind, you might end up with a modular code, loosely coupled one, right? And you create a class, another new class, and yet another new class as the requirement emerges, right? We talk about designs. The best requirements, designs, and architecture emerge from self-organizing teams, and this is how it can happen. This is how it can happen. And we don't over-engineer. We'll stop over-engineering, writing a lot of code, and then thinking about all the scenarios, so on and so forth, right? If we have lesser code, and you have tests backing all the time, telling you that yes, Murali, you are moving in the right direction. Yes, Murali, you are moving in the right direction. Then the momentum, you can have a sustainable pace, right? And your confidence level increases. Confidence really increases. This is really refreshing, right? So this is a looks like I'm taking a good bit of time. So what is TDD? TDD is definition. Okay, TDD definition. It's a software development. This is a wiki definition. The software development practice. TDD relies on a short development life cycle. And how short a development life cycle are we talking about? As short as 30 seconds to 90 seconds, which we'll demonstrate shortly. Requirements are turned into tests. The software is improved to pass the test. Requirements verification, right? Requirements are turned into tests, and the software is improved to pass the test. We'll see what it is. Typically, you have a user story and acceptance criteria, and all those acceptance criteria, we start writing tests for. Okay, we start writing tests for those. See, there is something called TDD cycle, which is referred to as red, green refactor. Okay, what it means, let me try to similarly show this one again. So you pick up a requirement one of a user story, write a failing test. Write a test, it will fail. I mean, this should happen. This cycle should itself happen within 30 seconds, 30 seconds to 90 seconds. Write a failing test, make it pass initially. Write a minimal code. The important thing here is, this is the takeaway for you. The important thing here is write minimal code possible to make this red pass. That's all. Don't think about too many scenarios and all that. I want a class, I would be requiring this, that. No. Then after this requirement has passed, then you try to refactor. Then we'll see how to make, did we use some constants? Can we put it in a class? You can start thinking about the refactoring. So firstly, we have to make it run. We have to make it pass green, then make it right. Make it run, make it right. This is called red, green refactor. Red, green refactor. This is now we pick up the second one, we follow the same circle, red, green refactor. Okay. 3 A's of a unit test: arrange, act, and assert. Okay. So what does that mean? So initially you arrange. You arrange means you may call it as arrange or setting the context. You set the context. What is it that you are doing? I am logged onto Amazon page, right? Amazon site. I'm logged onto Amazon site, and I have selected an item. and I placed it in cart. So then what should happen if you have placed it in cart? What is it that you it should tell me that I have placed this particular item. So this is how it goes. What is the context? What action have you taken through code? And what is it that you are asserting? What does your test asserting? Right? So quickly, let us go to our demonstration. Now, I mean, I don't know if you're following or not. I just want to ask you a couple of questions. Okay, please unmute yourself and then speak. All right, please unmute yourself and then speak. TDD is for testers only. Yes or no?
No.
No.
Right.
No.
It is for developers, right?
Yes.
It's for
Yes.
developers, right? So BDD is a test last approach and TDD is a test first approach.
No.
Yes.
Both are test
Yes.
first.
Yes.
No.
Both are test first approaches,
No.
right? Now BDD is the parent of TDD.
Yes.
BDD is the parent of TDD. No. That's what I said. No, it's not the parent. Okay, that's in fact BDD came after TDD.
Okay.
It is also a test first approach, but it is more at a higher level. We use some other language called Gherkin. Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah. It is not. It is also a test first approach. Okay, like TDD. But what we do is we write given this arrange act assert is there, right? Similarly, you have given that I am logged in, when I add something to my cart,
Then
I should be able to see in my cart. It should be reflected in my cart. Okay, the same thing applies, but you write it in Gherkin scenarios. That's the difference.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
So what did we say? Red, green, refactor. Red, green, refactor. You need to remember that. Okay. First, you must have a failing test. Okay, that is one thing, one takeaway for you. And you need to have more unit tests. Any questions so far? I'm just going to demonstrate right now.
Why we are having first failing test?
Sorry,
Why we must have failing test first?
why we must have failing test first? Otherwise, we end up writing a lot of code. First, this is the paradigm shift that is so required. Okay, it requires a little bit of mental shift. Okay, you hang on to that question even as a demonstrator. Okay, Vidya?
Yeah.
Hang on to the question, no problem. In the interest of time, I'm creating a new project. This is I'll show you. You would probably realize after writing something here. A little bit of code. Okay. So what I did just now is, I'm sorry. I'll cancel it and then I will show you again because Vidya was asking some question. So the way I'm creating a new project does not have anything. Okay. There's no code written. I'm writing a test. I'm starting a X unit project, which is a unit testing framework project. Okay. X unit is one of the unit testing frameworks. Let's call this as Amazon. Okay. Yes. But let's call it as Amazon test. Amazon project. But whereas here solution name, I will give it as Amazon. This is a test basically. Okay. We are starting with tests. There is no code as such. There's no code. I'm opening a X unit test project. It is not a development coding project. Okay. That is an important thing to be noticed. Now, just for the sake of some better clarity, I will just delete this class. Oh, yes. So I am in the test Amazon class solution or a project. and I'm trying to add a class. So what could that be? I want to test. Okay, test shopping cart. Test shopping cart. But yes. Don't trouble the trouble until trouble troubles you. I know there are issues here. This is internal. Let it be. When it in TDD, we will not trouble the trouble until trouble troubles you. Right? So what does that mean? What do you mean? I'm not unnecessarily trying to do, hey, this must be public. Tomorrow somebody will be used. No, let us not worry about it. All right. Okay. So test add to cart. So it is showing something here, but okay. So what is that cart?
Hello.
Yes, sir. Yes. Yeah, hello. Alt control right. Execute attribute. Why is it that that's not? It's not recognizing this fact for some reason.
Yes.
Right? I'm not sure why. It is a fact, but then okay, I'll tell you. Why wouldn't? So yeah.
Sorry, I had an in-depth audio issue. I'm sorry for interrupting.
No issues, sir. No issues.
Okay.
These things happen again. Okay. So we are trying to test. So what is that? Test shopping cart. I'm trying to test my shopping cart up, okay, of Amazon. But where is shopping cart? Is there a shopping cart class? Okay, my shopping cart. You go to your Amazon and then you. Okay. There is a reason why I said one. I don't like this one. We don't want to put this one, but yeah, there is a reason why I did that. Otherwise, the compiler is not going to. It'll keep prompting me about this one, test one. Okay. Shopping cart is equal to new shopping cart of. But do we have this class? What is happening here? Do we have this shopping cart? We do not have that shopping cart. This is a class, shopping cart class that I'm creating, and we are in test. Okay. So, okay. Firstly, show potential fixes. Generate some class. Let it generate something for me. Let it generate something for me. The compiler is happy. Now there is a problem here. Let it generate something for me. Make it public. Oh, see, it's automatically taking public. So I'm not bothering unless the trouble is troubling me really. Don't trouble the trouble until trouble troubles you, right? So shopping cart, my shopping cart. This is the arrange part. We talked about what are the 3 A's? Arrange. This is
Exert.
So this is the given part in BDD, okay, or context. You may call it as context. I mean, for your clarity, I'm writing this. Okay. Now, what do we do with this shopping cart? What is it that we are testing here? Add to cart functionality. When I add to cart, so how many items do I want to add? Let us say I want to add one item to my cart. But do I have a method called add to cart in my shopping cart class? This is what it is complaining. In TDD, even this is also considered as in TDD, even this is considered a red squarely line, as in the compiler error is also considered failing test, but that's okay. For our purpose, we just say, okay, we ignore that, and then say, I'll just put it. It will automatically generate method. Let it generate a method. Now the compiler will be happy. Are you with me so far, or is it overwhelming? Okay. I'm asserting, I assert that I just know what I did. I added something to the cart, isn't it? Now I am asserting that the expected assert dot equal. I'm asserting that my shopping cart has one number of items. Uh, get number of items in cart. And by the way, you can have, don't worry about having such a big one, right? Get number of items in cart. It is, I mean, if you have the longer names, that is good actually. It will help you to easily identify. The code should speak for itself. You should not somebody write a comment and then, okay, instead you can have that. But then you can always, if you feel that this is not the right one, if you think that get count of items is a better one, you can go ahead and I'm implementing generate method. Generate. Compiler is happy. Compiler is now happy, right? But that is not our objective. What is our objective? Our objective is to test that. Here it is again showing, test that number of items. I mean, I add something to the cart and I get the same number of items. I'm asserting that I just now added one number of items and I must see one in my cart. Do you guys agree with this?
Yes.
Right. Yeah, we added just now added one item to the cart, shopping cart. I want to see that the moment I go there to my cart, I should see. But yeah, that is what I'm trying to. One is what I'm trying asserting that yes, this is equal to one. But this is showing some error. What is the problem? What could be the problem? Let us go and then examine this guy. He generated code. I did not generate the code, right? I did not generate the code. Now I enumerable. This is I enumerable. But whereas there I have an int. Now again I go there. I did the smallest thing possible. I'm trying to satisfy the customer. Now I will go here. What will happen? It will not. It will fail. It should, right? Yeah, but it passed. Oh, great. So then I will go and then test. If it is, if the build is successful, then I'll go and test. There is something called Test Explorer. You run your test. You run your test. Oh no, my test failed. What do you think? Is this a good thing or a bad thing?
It should fail only if we have not written the code.
Sorry?
I'm telling it should fail only if we have not written the code. So
We have not yet fully written the code, right? It should fail. It is giving me feedback that yes, Murali, you written something, it is failing. So go to take action. It is telling me that it's not implemented the method or operation. Which one? Which method? Add to cart. Okay, fine. Let me go there and then see what is the problem, right? It is good for me that whenever it is showing red, it is very good for me. Where it is not implemented. Okay, so to satisfy the compiler, I will say return one. I'm not sure if it is the right answer or not. Again, now I will try to I'll try to compile first. Control Shift B. It is compiling fine. Now run. Oh, it is still failing. Why is it failing? There is something else that is add to cart is not implemented. So, oh, this is also not implemented. Then what do? I passed number of items, right? Add to cart. I passed one number of items. So V equal to V plus one, something like this. If V is 0, then it will become V plus one, right? Let us see if our compiler it satisfies and it passes the test. Now it is passing. Now it is passing. V is equal to V plus. But what is the problem here? You see this return 1. Is that the way we should be writing our code? Return 1. It is a constant, right?
We should have some variables.
You should have probably something like this. Okay. Count integer. What do you say? Count of items is equal to 0 initially. Then count of items is equal to return count of items. I don't know whether the code that I written is correct or not, but I'm going to test. It will fail. It expected 1 with this change that I did. This actual value is 0. Expected is 1. What is the problem? Okay, where is the actual value? Count of items. So I have not updated. When I added the card, I have not updated this one. I'm intentionally writing some bugs actually here. I'm intentionally writing some bugs. I'll tell you why. That way it helps you. Okay. Then run all tests. Or it fails. Now what is happening? What is the problem? Expected 1, actual 2. Oh, so why is it that it is 2 first? And I said add to cart. I passed in V plus 1, right? I should change that. Count of items is equal to V. How many ever number of items that you passed? That should. Now let us see whether it is passing or not. Now it is passing. I'm happy. You see the number of baby steps that I'm taking to make it pass. Do you understand this?
Yeah.
The baby step. I'm just taking small steps. Now what should I do? See, this add to cart is there. Only number is coming. Do you know which item? You're passing in? We don't know. Then what should we do? We should create something called product item. Product item should have description. It should have a name, description. It should have the price, right? Minimal code possible. Then what I will do? Shopping cart. I will create a product item class. Okay, my product item class. Just a time check. Looks like there are 4 minutes. Anand, are people okay, or I'm not sure?
We are fine.
Fine, Murali. Fine.
Yeah. Okay, fine. Yeah. So you see, again, I'm trying to create a class. I'm trying to create a class called. Okay, let me also not even. Okay, yeah, product item, new product item. Then what will happen? It will have, let us say, I'm trying to purchase a OnePlus phone. If I am rich enough, then I'll purchase one phone, which is worth 35,000. Okay, right? So what I did here, I went to my test. I went back to my test. I am not in the code. This is our code, shopping cart code. But here it is. I'm creating a product item class. So do I have a product item class?
No.
We don't have a product item class, is right? So how do I fix this? Show potential fixes. It will help me. Now these days compilers are very smart, right? Of course, we have had this feature for a long time, right? So where is it? Product item. Okay, product item is here. Internal product item, and it should have. I'm sorry. What are the parameters that it should have? It has a name. It has some amount, decimal. or float, something like that, right? So this is still not satisfied. This is still not satisfied. It says, where is the constructor? Where is the constructor with that? There is no constructor. There's no constructor, no. That is why it is crying. You have not provided constructor, man. Why are you calling this with this function? This is a function. Yeah, with 3 parameters. Where is that? Where are the 3 parameters? I don't see. So if it doesn't see, it thinks that product item, it thinks like this. Does nothing. Empty constructor. Okay. It thinks like that. So now what I have to do? Let it fix. We'll see what kind of code it generates. Okay. Generator constructor with, yes. It looks like it is generating something, but then I don't like these names, right? Product item string, there should be some name, product item name, right? Integer, no. That should be probably float, price. Then what else is there?
Count.
Okay, so name, price. This is the first time you are seeing me write more code, right? The first time you are seeing me write more code.
The price should be food.
Sorry?
The price, there you written integer, maybe it should be for product item, string, name,
One minute.
integer price.
It should be in quotes, you're saying?
Float FLOAT.
Okay, fine. Thank you. That is why we do what do you call? We do something called, very good. So the compiler is going to tell us. Sahel, you told me, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. The compiler is going to tell us. Compiler is going to help us. But then this is what pair programming. If I'm pairing with Sahel, then this will help me, right? He is coming up with a. How many of you do this pair programming? Just 1 minute. Just 1 minute. Yeah. So how many of you do pair programming? Nobody? You are not encouraging. You know what Tesla does? Tesla people does mob programming. The entire team sits only one monitor in which people will be coding. Everybody will be jumping. Hey, you have to write this, you have to write that. And everybody knows what is happening. Right? So if you see, now this is coming, but is my test still passing? Am I green still? I made a lot of changes, right? I made a lot of changes. I should not introduce any bugs. The moment I add some code, I may introduce some bugs, right? So we don't want to do that. So like this, your code, now I go back to this. And then instead of adding 1, what will I add? Add to cart my product item. So we are also refactoring our code. So immediately it is complaining, hey, what man, you have written add to code my product item. Where is that? Show potential fixes. It automatically says, oh, no, don't generate, introduce parameter, right? Introduce parameter. Yes. Okay, anyway, I will introduce myself. Product item. But now there might be another problem. How does it recognize? It is in the same namespace, so it is recognizing, but V is not there, right? Count of items, product items, dot. How do I get the count? How do I get the count? From here. count is not there. So what I will do, I'll write a method, get count of, or actually we can use properties. So the difference being people, the difference in the approach is that we start imagining, generally we start imagining, hey, shopping cart, right? Shopping cart is there. Shopping cart requires product item. Product item requires a shipping address, price, so on and so forth. We try to imagine lots of things and write, but we are not writing so many things. We are just doing the minimum thing possible. Why it is saying plus plus. Okay. Now I would say product item dot get count of, but it is not visible here. Why is it not visible here? Because this class is, firstly, this method is not public. Methods should be public, right? Yes, Anand. Do you want me to close this? People are engaged, I thought. I don't know.
Yeah,
They
please continue. Continue, sir.
Yeah, I was just checking with you. Okay. Yeah. But do you understand? Count of items is product item dot get count of. Where is that? Why is it that now? Increment statement. Oh, turn. See, the moment you make a mistake, it will tell you. Of course, this is the compiler stuff, right? And get count. And I also must confess, Anand, you made me do good bit of coding after a long time. The long forgotten skills, right? Add to cart is my product item, right? So now why is it that it is not taking this? Something failed here. Get count is count. This it cannot convert from. Come on, somebody should. Okay, good. Now I get it. See? So this way, you are getting constant feedback, and we are trying to develop, or rather improvise our code by adding only the necessary fields. Minimal code is there. You're not thinking way ahead and then writing a lot of code, which becomes a liability, which is very difficult to read, so on and so forth, right? But then you have here, if this is not readable, right now, you can always improve upon that. Red green refactor, right? So once I go here, then I can say my product item dot get count. Why is it that my, oh, so sorry, my product item. Get count of. Now let us see whether it is matching or not. I don't know. I may have made mistakes, but then it will tell me. Right? Right now, it is working, even though I added something. I'm sure, oh, this is working, this particular one. I may go back and then look at this class, try to tidy up try to tidy up, and then, oh, these names are not good. Somebody might say, no, Murali, these names are not good. Let us get rid of that. Then we'll say, we'll come up with something called prop. In C#, there is something called prop. Okay. String, sorry. String, and then you can call it as name like this. Okay, instead of those private, which is the compiler, I allowed the compiler to generate this code, but that's fine. The classical way of writing this is, you write properties. You should have get and set in properties, so on and so forth. So happy coding this way. You can keep evolving your code, and then most important, one more thing I wanted to tell you. You see, we are in test Amazon talk. You're testing Amazon, right? Amazon's website, but your production classes, shopping cart, and product item are here. So what do we do about it? What we do is we add, excuse me, another project. Okay. All project types, and just take a minute. I'm not able to get this out of my view. Okay, so I'm creating a class library. Now we call this as project name is Amazon API, let us say. I'm just giving a name, okay? Amazon API, something like that, or Amazon classes. So what happens? What happens now? Under this, you have Amazon API, right? So I make it as a reference. I make it as a reference so that compiler will be happy. Project reference. I want to Amazon API as a project reference, and we are referring. We are using that Amazon API from here. Now what we do is we move these guys from here to here. Sorry. What typically we do is these classes are added to. Okay, it went there. It went there. This is also added to this. And we will delete this. We'll delete this. Okay. After ensuring for that, what we need to do is this should not be internal. It should be public. Now, somebody was asking Vidya, was that? So these are also public. Methods should be public. Data should be private. That's what encapsulation teaches us, right? And if you have done your C++ or Java in your college, I probably recall. Then I can remove these. Then I would remove these two. Something like that. Okay. So this is just arranging the workspace so that all your classes are here, or your test classes are here. You're separating your test classes. I'm not going, because you want to segregate all of them in a separate one. All right. This is all I had. I hope you've got some insights on how it may be done and what is there, what is in it for me as a Scrum Master. Code, the more code you write, the more liability it is for the organization as well. So we need to write minimal code. This is one approach. TDD is an approach that helps you write minimal code. Okay.
Yeah. So I have a question around this. Let's say we have a lot of legacy code. We have developed the whole product, but we haven't written any test cases, any unit test cases in the TDD format. So how do we implement that from scratch? I mean, what is the first approach we should be looking into?
Do not try to implement it. The approach that we take normally, but especially for legacy applications, is we do not go and start writing TDD for all the modules that we have. No. We only tend to write tests for the piece of code that we are working on today. Or if you feel that there is a portion of the code which is very complex and it must be maintained very well, no matter what, as in some algorithms or business logic, then go ahead and then start focusing on those areas. Okay. Start focusing on those areas. Do not go big bang. It will not work out. And people will resist. People will resist. And you know, people. And another thing that happens is, Krishna. Did I answer your question firstly?
Yes.
Okay. Another thing that happens is your product owners, they don't understand our product owners. Okay? Our product owners do not understand this. They may not understand. Okay? Some people are good, really sharp ways. They understand. Some people, most of the time, product owners will say, no, it will take a lot of time if they start doing new ways of working. Please don't introduce this. Okay?
Right. And this will, I think, slow down the development as well initially.
Yes, it will. I mean, for 3 sprints, you invest, and after that, you will not leave. You will not leave test-driven development.
Okay.
Such is the power.
One final question. That's a scenario based actually. So we have our application on multiple pages we are using. We have old ASPX pages, and recently we moved to Angular. So our prime focus right now is moving to a single page application. Should we wait for that to first implement to reach to the SPA and then start with the TDD, or should we just start right ahead? We are using .NET and Angular as a backend.
Using .NET and Angular, right? So
Yes.
Angular is good enough, boss. You can start using that. And ASPX pages, I mean, in which language was that written?
Not sure. I think it was
It will be typically C# or VB.
C#. I think yes. That's
Yeah. In C#, typically they have just whatever I have shown will be available in C#. That is C#, in fact, C# code, and it should be available. It is up to the team and the team members to start implementing test-driven development. If they feel that it is of value, go ahead. They will start. Go ahead. They'll not tell anybody. In fact, they'll go ahead and then implement it. You don't even have to announce. The moment you start announcing, right? People will say, no. It's going to be, decrease our velocity, right? That is what our productivity has gone down because we implemented test-driven development. No, don't even announce that you're doing test-driven development. But then there will be times you have to announce to everybody. You have to convince management that yes, we require test-driven development. And if they are convinced, they will encourage you a lot. The moment they are convinced, they'll not leave. It is very difficult. Initially, you'll have hiccups. Show me what is the difference in productivity before we implemented TDD, after we implemented TDD. This kind of questions will keep coming. But then, once people are educated, especially the developers, once they get a hang of it, they will not leave it to the best of their ability. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Any other questions? Vidya, did you follow? Was your question answered, or you still have the dilemma?
No, question answered. I got it. Thank you.
You understand now? You get some idea, right? At
Yes.
least, this is a very short session, right? 1 hour, nearly 15 minutes. It's a very short session, but you get the idea. You
Yes,
write
I got it.
minimal code. You write with the minimal code and slowly evolve your software development, right?
Yes.
Or your project.
Thank you.
Yes. Yeah. Any other questions for Scrum Masters? These are the typical questions that you'll get. It is difficult to convince upper management, but then we also say we are courageous, right? Also, Scrum Masters say live by Scrum values. We are courageous, and then present these. And whenever you have success stories, highlight that, and they will agree. initially there will be resistance. Okay.
One last, maybe if you have time, a small question.
Yeah.
Are there any successful stories by big companies where they have utilized TDD?
Oh, no, there are many such cases, use cases.
Okay.
I may have to. I mean, I don't have right on the top of my head, but I know I have references where where I can get references where such cases, success stories are there. Yes.
Yeah. Thank you.
And in fact, in our own organization, we try to measure, and then we did measure. In fact, the defect counts have come down, so on and so forth. Yeah, wherever they implemented. Okay.
Yeah, because my main reason for asking is because when we give some kind of a metaphor or some kind of an example, because mostly TDD main advantage what we see is from the developers, they say is that slow. Obviously everyone wants to write the code very quick. First they have to test, they have to maintain a test suite again. So if we have any successful stories, because I've tried to find it out from the Google also, but I never got it. But this is one of the extensive training I've seen. I mean, I can say masterclass also from you, Murali. But I've seen, I've gone through the articles. Most of them are there, but I've not seen any companies who have utilized it TDD in a successful way, which would be useful for the teams to know actually.
No, there are practitioners. There are serious practitioners.
Hmm.
I've seen, especially in England. It depends on the kind of project that they are working on.
Sure, I'll do more research. Yeah, thank you.
I'll try to get something for you.
Yeah.
Oh, there are two Krishnas, is it? I got confused now.
Yeah, this is Krishna P. Actually.
All right. I mean, that's all I had, Anand. Thank you very much for providing me the opportunity.
Thanks,
So
Murali,
thank
sir,
you,
for
thank you,
enlightening
dear.
us and refreshing our software engineering days once again. Really appreciate taking time out and sharing your experience.
Yeah,
And thank you everyone for taking your time on a Friday evening to learn some great insights on TDD.
Yes. Yeah, you can get connected on LinkedIn. I'm here.
Thank you,
Most of you
Murali.
know.
Great session, actually.